It has finally come. The week we have all been anticipating for SmackDown's move to Fox. It's been little under a year since it was announced that Fox would be getting SmackDown. I believe it's a little under a year, but remember last year there was talk of NBC Universal not wanting SmackDown and Raw anymore. WWE wanted to get as much as they could for both shows. There was a possibility of both shows getting to Fox. I think the biggest reason Raw didn't come to Fox is because Fox would not allow it to have 3 hours on Fox on whatever your Fox affiliate is, because news on Fox is always at 10 p.m. So WWE was like, we're going to try and get what we can from USA. But last year, when we were in this talk, when we were all wondering what's going to happen to Raw, SmackDown, AEW had not even been thought of yet. Well, not talked about in circles for everyone. We know we had the JR Chris Jericho rumor that they were starting a wrestling promotion, but Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega and Anna Hangman Page were all still part of Ring of Honor. There was no, in New Japan, there was no talk of what these guys were going. We were speculating and rumoring, what are these guys going to do? Are they going to stay in New Japan Ring of Honor? Are they going to go to WWE? We had no idea. Of course, All In happened. There were talk of maybe these guys doing another All In. There was no real big talk at this time in October of 2018 that the AEW was going to be a thing. We all just talked about just what would come next. All In 2 was all you heard about last year at this time. Will we see a second All In? Not All Out, not Double or Nothing, Fight for the Fallen, Fighter Fest. Just All In was so successful that we would possibly see a second one this year. Then, of course, we get to January 1st, 2019, as the ball drops wherever they were at when this happened, and they drop a special edition, I believe, of Being the Elite. And you had Double or Nothing be the whole talk of the Bucks and Cody, and then Hangman showed they all had it on their phone, and then Hangman showed his phone, and it said AEW. And it was off. We didn't know what this was going, how this was going to go. All we knew about was Double or Nothing. We didn't know if they were going to start TV in August, September, October. We didn't know. Then, of course, yes, the rumblings of they're going to be starting in the fall, about October time. We didn't know if that was going to be October 2nd, so October 1st, 3rd, whatever, what their day was going to be, what TV they were going to get. And then we get TV, in which they're going to be on TNT. This has become the biggest week of professional wrestling in a long time. You have Raw on Monday, SmackDown on Friday, AEW and NXT on Wednesday. Now, however, pulling back to when SmackDown was announced that they're going to be moving to Fox in October of this year, we didn't have any inkling that USA was going, or NXT. Well, there was talk of FS1 getting getting NXT, but with AEW not being, not knowing where AEW was going to go, what the TV deal was going to be, I believe this was in February or March when we heard about Fox getting NXT for FS1, which would have been an absolute mistake in my opinion, but that's neither here nor there. But it was all just rumor. We didn't know if it was going to happen, if it was ever going to happen. And then, of course, AEW gets us October 4th. So we didn't, it was kind of calm for what was going on with NXT. We didn't anticipate it. Hell, back when the deal was announced that October, I think it was October 4th, was going to be the debut of Fox on USA, SmackDown on Fox. The rumor of NXT going to FS1 wasn't even a thing yet. It wasn't a rumor. It was just a possibility that there's going to be a studio show, maybe some more content, but nothing about NXT. So going back to when this deal was first announced, just the road to October 1st, September 30th, October 1st, October 2nd, and October 4th have gone from Raw being on USA, SmackDown going to Fox, to Raw on USA, NXT on USA, AEW on USA on TNT at the same time as NXT, and SmackDown on Fox. We have gone from little change because SmackDown had, unlike Monday Night Raw, which has only been on 2 networks its entire existence. It was on USA from 1993 to 2000, I believe, or 2001. Then it went to TNN, which was the national network. Then it was the Nashville network, then the national network. Then it became Spike TV, and they were there until 2005. Which I remember when Monday Night Raw was leaving Spike TV and going back to USA Network. Every time, like, it wasn't WWE's choice, but every time on that final episode that anybody would mention USA Network, the executive, whoever was running the feed from WWE to Spike TV bleeped out USA Network because they were so salty. It just felt like they were salty that they were losing. They were losing one of the highest rated shows that they had, and that was Spike TV. I mean, that was USA. That was Monday Night Raw. Then, of course, Monday Night Raw went back to the USA Network and has been there ever since, lasting longer this time than they did the first time around. Unlike SmackDown, which started on the UPN network, which I don't know why you went there. That was what they started on network. Then when UPN and WB merged together, SmackDown went to the CW network. Well, it was CW and then My Network TV, one of those two. They went to CW at My Network TV. Then they went to Sci-Fi for a couple years after ECW went belly up and became NXT in 2010. NXT was there for about a year and a half before. I mean, it was like a year and a half. Then of course, Spike. Then they came. Then SmackDown came to Sci-Fi. NXT went to the online-only version, which this is pre-WWE Network, so it was on WWE.com. And then SmackDown stayed there until 2016 when it became SmackDown Live on the USA Network. They did the draft. And now SmackDown will be going to its 5th home on Fox, on your local Fox affiliate, from 8 to 10 on Friday nights. Now, I don't think I have that in my news this week, but we'll have to look at it. Give me a second here. I believe I didn't grab this. Let me see here. Let's see. No. Come on. No, I did not. I thought I grabbed it, but coming in later in the month is going to be Impact Wrestling, as well as they're going to be moving to Access TV after Bound for Glory. So theoretically, by the end of October, you have, for your viewing, if you want to be if you're a wrestling junkie and you want to watch different products, you can watch Raw on Monday, Impact on Tuesday, Wednesday, AEW or NXT. Thursday, you can watch AEW or NXT, the one that you didn't watch. If you want to watch AEW on Wednesdays, and then NXT on network on Thursdays, and then you have SmackDown on Fridays. That is a lot of wrestling. And then I believe Access TV also has the New Japan shows on Saturday, so that's theoretically 6 days of wrestling in a row if you want to, and then of course monthly pay-per-views on Sunday for WWE, and sporadically for AEW on Saturdays. There is a lot of wrestling. Now, a lot of people are going to be expecting this to be a new boom period for the wrestling business, and I disagree with that. I absolutely disagree with the fact that people think this is a new boom period. But why would I say that? Because it's just too much of a good thing. Too much. It's just too much. There is absolutely no reason whatsoever to have so much wrestling. Now, of course, you don't have to watch AEW. If you just watch Raw, SmackDown, NXT, or if you just watch Raw and SmackDown, you're going to have 5 to 7 hours. If you watch Raw, Impact, NXT, AEW, SmackDown, that's 11 hours of wrestling. Top on that, if you watch 205 Live, that's 12 hours. If you watch NXT UK, that's 13 hours of wrestling in 1 week. If you watch New Japan, which I think is another hour, that's 14. the WoW, which is women's wrestling. I think it's women's wrestling. I think that's probably an hour too. That's 14. There's a possibility of 14 hours of wrestling every single week. A little bit much, but it's just it's big for a lot of reasons. Of course, it's the premiere of Raw, SmackDown, and NXT at the normal time that you'll have. Raw will be on the USA Network with everything that's going on there. SmackDown will be on Fox, and NXT will have its full 2-hour premiere. No more no more between USA and the WWE Network. No 1 hour on each. It is the full 2 hours, and of course AEW. Now, with AEW and NXT being on Wednesdays, the new quote-unquote Wednesday Night War, which Vince McMahon made happen because Vince McMahon wanted it to happen. Here's the thing. NXT did not have to be put on Wednesdays on the USA Network. The fact that they jumped 2 weeks, Vince McMahon came out and was like, oh, this was the plan the whole time, or Triple H can say this was the plan the whole time. I call bullshit. If this was the plan the whole time, why did the first 2 weeks of NXT have to be split between USA Network and WWE Network? Oh, it was because of the Suits series finale. That's exactly right. Why? If this was the plan all along, USA Network probably would have moved Suits final season to a different day, so you could have NXT on there from 8 to 11, 8 to 10 every single week from the get-go. It was just a rush job to get it done so they could jump ahead of AEW. Do I blame them for that? No, it's not surprising that they did it. But again, NXT could have stayed at its 1 hour format on the WWE Network, taped beforehand, and I'm still gonna watch it. I'd probably watch it on Thursday or Wednesday afternoon, or after I watch AEW, I'll probably watch it just to have my review up on Thursday afternoon, like I did the last 2 weeks. But it's just taking it to a 2 hour format in live, and I've already seen countless problems with this new format already. That this week coming up is going to be it could be an absolute home run, or it could be an absolute disaster for NXT. I don't like the fact that Triple H is putting all his chips into this one episode and building it and pretty much making a mini takeover, because you have 4 matches already announced. And if anybody thinks that Roderick Strong is going to be defending against the Velveteen Dream this week, and Volta's putting the UK title on the line this coming week, you're out of your fucking mind, or you're a fucking retard. There are only 2 hours. Matt Riddle versus Adam Cole is not going 10 minutes. Shayna Baszler versus Candice LeRae might go a little bit. The Undisputed Era versus the Street Profits is not going just 10 minutes. That's going to be a 15-20 minute match at the most. Johnny Gargano versus Shane Thorne, I think, is the odd match out for that. But I don't like that they're stacking the deck for this one show. A TV show like this needs to be able to have, you're gonna build up this expectation. You had Dominik Dijakovic and Keith Lee go out there to try and kill each other as 2 big men doing shit that 2 big men should not be doing. Did we need to have a top rope Canadian destroyer that Keith Lee kicked out of? No, we did not. Did we need to have half of the moves that they did? No. Now you're going to have casual fans like, oh, that was some crazy shit. I can't wait to see what they do next week. How is the NXT going to top themselves next week? Oh, 3 championship matches, limited commercial breaks. Gee, here's an idea. I'm going to go and watch NXT and see what they do. Then when this week's done, what are they going to do the next week? That you're going to set yourself up to have the people watching expect you to do what you do this week every single week, and it's just not possible. I don't want to see Adam Cole wrestling every week. This is the 3rd week in a row that Matt Riddle is going to be wrestling. I don't want to see it in the 4th week, the 5th week, the 6th week. I don't want to see Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano and Shane Thorne and all these people wrestling every single week. It's absolutely ludicrous and ridiculous that they go I know, you want to counteract and counter-program AEW. Why? If you go out there and you give us a hell of an NXT show like you do every single fucking week, you're going to have people want to probably pick this up better than AEW. If AEW goes out there and continues to shoot, take minor shots or even big shots, having Cody go out there and breaking the throne that looks like Triple H's throne, having him go out and do that on Double or Nothing, that's fine if you do that one time. But I don't want this to be a TNA Wrestling, early days of TNA Wrestling thing where they go out there and you have, Kurt Hennig come out and is like, I just got done making Brock Lesnar my bitch and yada yada yada. I don't want shit like that. Keep the mocking WWE on being the elite. If I see or hear one fucking thing mocking WWE on AEW, I already know where they're going, and it's going to be, and AEW will absolutely fail if they go with this shit. Impact Wrestling TNA had two big problems in their early days. They had some great talent: AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, James Storms, Bobby Roode, Christopher Daniels, Kazarian, and the list is just on and on and on. What did they do? They pushed the Kevin Nashes, the Kurt Angles, the Stings, the Team 3Ds over a Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley and others more often than not. And the other thing they did wrong was that they wanted to be, let's just poke fun at WWE because that's going to get a chuckle out of people. It's fine if you do it once in a blue moon, but just being like, we're going to just continue to sit there and make fun of WWE, that's not going to help your cause. WWE is untouchable. They want to take pot shots, they can, because they are the biggest dog in the yard. If you want to have the free roam to go out there and take shots at WWE, you need to go out there and knock them off their perch. Worry about your in-ring product. Stop with the bullshit, making fun of making fun of WWE and doing stupid shit like that. Kill the librarian gimmick. I'm fucking over it. JR and Tony Schiavone are going to be doing commentary on this on AEW's TNT show. Again, stupid fucking name, which apparently was from Tony Khan's childhood, which should have stayed in his fucking childhood. But it's like, it's like you want to draw in the casual fans, I guess. But the last time, correct me if I'm wrong, the last time Tony Schiavone and JR did any commentary together on a regular was in 1992. 1991, 1992. They weren't ever, because JR started in WWE, or the WWF, in 1993. So correct me if I'm wrong. The last time Schiavone and JR did anything that would drum up nostalgia and oh my god, it's Schiavone and JR, was in 1992 at the latest. I don't want to hear them. JR, if you want to have JR and Schiavone be the commentary team, save them for a pay-per-view. Golden Boy and Excalibur are the ones who need the tool, need the practice, need the running or calling the matches on TV. I don't need to hear Tony Schiavone. I watched the War Chamber match that MLW did a couple weeks ago, and Schiavone he doesn't have that same oomph that he had in WCW. He's not, of course, he's older. He's 20 years older, 20-some years old, 25 years old, 28 years older. So it's not like he's a young chicken anymore. He's not a young spring chicken. They're just bringing these two in because it's nostalgia. You're already making mistakes that you shouldn't be making. You're already following the WWE blueprint. Let's just use nostalgia to call it. Let's just have nostalgia there to have people match on. I can understand why you don't want Golden Boy and Excalibur to be the voices that you hear when you first turn on AEW's show on TNT, because almost nobody's going to know who they are, except for, of course, Golden Boy is really a big deal in the gaming community for esports and stuff. But it's like JR and Schiavone, just no. That's just like Monday Night Raw, and we'll talk about this later, getting a new commentary team and Jerry the King Lawler's on there. I don't want Jerry the King Lawler on there because, quite honestly, he's fucking terrible. King is in his 70s? Dude is out of place, and I'll talk about it more later. But Jerry King Lawler does not need to be on comedy on Raw. Shivani and JR do not need to be on AEW's commentary. JR's last performance did not do well for him. Quite honestly, it was a real letdown. JR needs to be behind the scenes more than anything. Shivani, they have a perfect spot for him. He does the TNT control centers most of the time. I mean, not the TNT. I'm sorry, the AEW control centers on these roads too that they do. That honestly, I hope they continue to do when we get to TV. Use that to help build up your pay-per-views, because you're not going to see everybody every week. You could have people who are in matches. Like if Cody and Jericho are not on TV in one of those weeks, you have them on in the control room or being interviewed by Tony Schiavone, and just having that done. I don't want to see Tony Schiavone and JR on commentary. That's just my thought. But this, of course, is the biggest week of the year. But let's talk about the week that passed up. On Raw, Smackdown, and NXT this week. Raw, of course, we had ourselves the good old-fashioned rinse and repeat. What's not broken doesn't need... What we don't need to fix what's not broken. Let's have Seth Rollins walk out there again, give us the same bland, boring promo. I listened to Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez's review of Monday Night Raw, and they put it out there plainly. Seth Rollins is afraid of a guy in a mask. That's it. Seth Rollins is absolutely afraid of Bray Wyatt's mask. Now, I wasn't there, and I saw some of the footage on YouTube, but WWE really botched the fucking Fiend. Seth Rollins, after the show went off the air, hit about 3 or 4 curb stomps on the Fiend, goes to finish him off. The lights go down, but not all the way. Not like on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown Live, on TV, I should say, when the lights go down and you can't see a soul. The lights go down, but they're not down enough to where everyone can see what's going on in the ring. So if like somebody wanted to make a run-in or something, you could see it. Well, they saw the Fiend get out of the ring and run away as fast as he could. My first question is, why the fuck is he running away? That makes him look like he is a fucking coward. 2, there's a fucking ring right there. He gets out, he goes on, like you have the lights go down, you roll the thing out, and he gets under the fucking apron. By the way, with this new season premiere and all the rumors that are going out, I hope these LED boards are gone, because they don't help enhance the product. They actually hinder the product, because if somebody wants to, like, if you want somebody to do that cut, what the Fiend should have did is roll out of the ring and get under the ring, but he couldn't, simply because some dumbass put a fucking LED board there so he couldn't get in. The LEDs kind of need to go, because they absolutely are atrocious. They don't help the product, and it just takes away, and it just makes things not as good. Rey Mysterio wins a fatal 5-way to get a Universal Championship match next week. Apparently, WWE is planning on having a Dominic Rey Mysterio type program around WrestleMania time. And if anybody remembers, last year, Rey Mysterio probably signed the last 2-year contract that WWE will ever give out for a very, very long time. He signed a 2-year deal. However, this 2-year deal had a little bit of a perk in it, in which he has an out clause at 18 months. 18 months is around WrestleMania time. A lot of people are speculating that Rey Mysterio has probably given his notice to Vince McMahon in WWE that he is going to be using that out clause when it comes into effect, and he wants to leave. He might want to retire. He might want to, like, this whole story with Dominic might just be his way to get out of working in WWE, because quite honestly, outside of the excellent matches with Andrade at the beginning of the year and a couple matches here and there, WWE has done nothing with Rey Mysterio that has been special. I saw him 2 years ago in the Wrestling World Cup battle Will Ospreay in one of the best matches of that tournament. One of the best matches in Rey Mysterio's career. I saw him at Stacked against Ricochet the night before, putting on a hell of a match. He was the talk of the independents. He was at All In last year, going up against who were they going up against? It was against the Young Bucks, right? Yeah, it was the Young Bucks, I believe. Well, whoever it was, it was the Young Bucks, and I can't remember, versus Rey Mysterio, Phoenix, and Bandito. It was 3 members of the Elite, with the Young Bucks being 2 of them. But anyway, he was just like, he was building his legend to be one of the greatest. Like, he holds his new thing is the greatest mask of all time. Yes, he did a lot of that in WWE, but he was doing a lot more outside of WWE in this day and age to help elevate independent wrestling. Of course, not everything about Rey Mysterio after he left WWE was a positive because of that match against, I don't know the guy's name, but he hit the 619, the guy died instantly. I know his father just passed away earlier this year as well, but that was just that wasn't a good time. But Rey Mysterio he comes back. His surprise return at the Royal Rumble last year was great. At the real Royal Rumble, not the greatest Royal Rumble, but the Royal Rumble. It was great because nobody knew it was going to happen. The response he had was pretty much them making up for the fact that he got booed out of the building at the Royal Rumble in 2015 because he wasn't Daniel Bryan. But that was great. Then he came back for the greatest Royal Rumble, which nobody cared. And then he got to go to New Japan. He got to wrestle a couple matches there, or a match or 2 there with them. And then he came back, and they did nothing with him. He just felt he went from, this is Rey Mysterio Jr., this is the greatest luchador of all time, to, hey, look, it's Rey. Rey's on Smackdown. Good for him. Yes, the matches, the trilogy of matches, or the matches he had with Andrade were fantastic. I wish it would have led to Andrade. I remember booking Andrade winning the United States Championship, or Rey Mysterio winning the United States Championship, and then them getting to a match at WrestleMania for the United States Championship, and they just didn't do it. Hell, there's been talk of doing Andrade versus Rey Mysterio, hair versus mask. Why didn't you have Andrade win the United States Championship, and then it would have went title versus mask, which of course Chris Jericho and Rey Mysterio did, I believe, back in 2009, title versus mask, when Rey Mysterio won the Intercontinental title from Chris Jericho. They could have relived that for WrestleMania this year by having Andrade win the United States Championship from, I believe it was Samoa Joe at the time, it was Samoa Joe at the time, right? Yeah. And having R-Truth, when Samoa Joe won the Intercontinental, the U.S. title when R-Truth was U.S. champ, that should have been Andrade. You build towards Andrade versus Rey Mysterio, mask versus title. And he would have had and hopefully Rey Mysterio wouldn't get injured. And he would probably have a much better and longer match for Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania. Then they tried to, they're trying to put Dominic into the storyline. It just felt like the stuff at WrestleMania felt a little forced. And then he got injured, which didn't help anything. Rey Mysterio comes back again later, gets injured again. They try to help get Dominic back into the storyline. And then Rey Mysterio goes on a little bit of a downward spiral. And he's looking to retire. He's going to take the mask off for whatever reason, because that's not required to retire, but hey, whatever. And Dominic just shows up out of nowhere, giving him this cringe-worthy speech of, "Don't retire. I want my first match in WWE to be with you. I want to be able to tell my kids, your grandkids, that I got to wrestle with the legendary Rey Mysterio." They hug, and there you go. Now, yes, Rey Mysterio, Dominic. The thing about Dominic is that he's probably nowhere ready. He's not going to NXT, which in my opinion is a mistake, but he is Rey Mysterio's son, but so whatever. They want to make sure he's in ring shape, he's ring ready, he's able to go out there and give you a hell of a match. I still think I'm sure he's down at the Performance Center here and there, getting himself done, probably having some practice matches and everything. But yes, the whole Rey Mysterio going for the Universal title this coming week is all probably building into this. He's having this big winning streak. He's doing everything he can to will himself on. And here he is for the Universal title. Will he win? Hell no. That title goes to The Fiend. Now, I believe I missed this. I guess Brian Alvarez did bring this up, that even if Rey Mysterio wins the Universal Championship this coming tomorrow, It's still going to be The Fiend versus Seth Rollins in Hell in a Cell, which makes no sense. So I fully expect The Fiend to come lay out Rey Mysterio and save the championship match for Hell in a Cell. Speaking of The Fiend, the end of the show saw Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins in a match that didn't even come one iota close to what they did at Clash of Champions, in a rematch, but this time non-title. And I don't know why they did this match. I don't. You have Seth Rollins, who is your Universal Champion, going to be in the main event of Hell in a Cell, inside Hell in a Cell with The Fiend, going out there, getting his ass kicked for about 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. The Fiend had to save Seth Rollins. And then he gets the mandible claw on Strowman, takes him down. Awesome stuff. Then he goes over and does pretty much the same thing he did the week before, staring daggers into Seth Rollins as Seth Rollins closes his eyes and tries to, not cry, which apparently he was crying the week before. Which, by the way, he called The Fiend the living embodiment of a nightmare. So again, it was in the beginning of the show. Again, Seth Rollins is afraid of The Fiend. That title can't come off of Seth Rollins so fast enough. Now, if it wasn't for the fact... Now, if Rey Mysterio does win the championship, which I doubt, I don't see why they would do that. That means one or two things. One, The Fiend is definitely... That would mean The Fiend is 100% winning at Hell in a Cell. And two, The Fiend could possibly be moving to Friday Night Smackdown in the draft, which we'll talk about that here in a bit. But if Rey Mysterio somehow, someway wins the Universal Championship on Monday, I highly doubt it, even though I would even take Rey Mysterio over Seth Rollins right now as your Universal Champion, and that's saying something. Seth Rollins, my God, man. From WrestleMania to Extreme Rules last year, was the hottest babyface in the entire WWE. He was the guy they should have had slay the Beast. But they were on their Roman agenda still at the time. So, of course, the Extreme Rules match happened with Dolph Ziggler, where everyone was counting down from 10 to the buzzer. That got fucking annoying, and that from then on there, he just kept, like, Seth Rollins went from being cool to sliding to where nobody gave a fuck anymore. He wins the Royal Rumble, slays the Beast of WrestleMania, goes to Extreme Rules this year, gets beat by Brock Lesnar after keeping his championship. And Seth Rollins just looks... They booked him so poorly in 2019. Again, WrestleMania, when they had that excellent triple threat match between him, Finn Balor, and The Miz. Then him and The Miz the Fatal 4-Way ladder match at the Greatest Royal Rumble, which is the only Saudi show I've seen, was the saving grace of that entire show, because that was an excellent fucking ladder match, to The Miz versus Seth Rollins at Backlash, which was the only match on that show that was worth a damn. And then the feud with him and Dolph Ziggler just would not fucking end. It brought back Dean Ambrose, which that didn't do well for Dean Ambrose. Let's not go into that right now. And until we got to, he kept sliding, and then we got to the match at, TLC, which was supposed to be this personal rivalry that just didn't feel like it. The fans didn't care about it. They shit all over it. And then he went on to win the Royal Rumble, and the rest was history. But Seth Rollins has just looked like a terrible champion. I don't know which is a worse title reign right now. The one he had from WrestleMania to Extreme Rules, or this one. I mean, we had the AJ Styles Seth Rollins match going out into, Money in the Bank, which was a pretty good match. It wasn't a great match. It wasn't the best match of the year or anything. It was a good match. And then we had the feud with Baron Corbin. But it's just, Seth Rollins he needs to stop cutting promos, unless they need to stop scripting Seth Rollins, because I know Tyler Black, Cody Lopez, Seth Rollins can cut a good promo. But having him go out there and just regurgitate whatever the fuck comes out of Vince McMahon's mind just has got to go. It does. It's just enough. Enough of it. I don't want to hear it anymore. Seth Rollins does not need to be your Universal Champion. And The Fiend laying out Strowman was awesome. I hope that's if he has a opening promo, which the fuck he doesn't. I hope that's all he talks about. I hope he's not like all scared of anything. But then, of course, as the show went off the air, and it's not for us to see, but of course, you know, people have got their cameras rolling until everything is done. WWE did everything they could to make The Fiend look weak. And the video footage is out there. And as we know, if you put it on the internet, it's there for good. No matter what it is, you will find it. Somebody will have a copy of it somewhere online. So Seth Rollins, he needs to lose it to Rey Mysterio on Monday, or lose it to Bray Wyatt in the Hell in a Cell. They do have an out. If they don't want to put the Universal Championship on Bray Wyatt at all, and they want to move him to SmackDown, which would be a bad idea in my opinion, Ray wins the title on Monday, Bray beats Seth Rollins on Sunday, and there we go. Is it going to happen with Rey Mysterio? I highly doubt it, but I could see WWE giving him the Universal Championship, and then it's like, who would be, like, what championship would be on the line then? Maybe they have Rey Mysterio face somebody and have Rey Mysterio lose the title on Sunday. I don't know. But if they want Bray Wyatt to win at Hell in a Cell, but they don't want Bray Wyatt to be Universal Champion yet, you have an out. Rey Mysterio wins the Universal Championship, takes it to Hell in a Cell, has an open challenge to anybody. And you get Ricochet, you get Samoa Joe, you get AJ Styles, you get somebody. Because quite honestly, Seth Rollins as Universal Champion has got to be over this week between now and next Sunday. Plain and simple. Okay, so Monday Night Raw has had some build to Hell in a Cell. SmackDown Live has had almost zero build to Hell in a Cell. The only match that we had on SmackDown built towards Hell in a Cell was a tag team match between Bryan and Roman versus the Bludgeon Brothers. That's it. It is, of course, the final SmackDown Live on USA Network. No more back-to-back nights of SmackDown, Raw, and SmackDown. So, there is that. The show opened up with an excellent match between Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan. Then, of course, Luke Harper came out. Then they destroyed Daniel Bryan for a bit. Roman Reigns came out. God, I can't wait till this feud is over because I'm getting so tired of the tying my tongue with Roman and Rowan. But anyway, Roman comes out. They get the upper hand. Daniel Bryan asks for a one-word answer to a match with these two. Crowd chant yes. He's not doing the yes, but he was putting his hands up, pumping the crowd, wanting the crowd to get a little bit louder. So that is what we got there. Of course, the biggest thing also is that Shane McMahon and Kevin Owens had their confrontation at the end of the show, in which Shane McMahon was like, let's start a clean slate. Let's do this. Let's just forget the fine and everything else, or I'll take you to court and tie you up with legal matter and legal problems for the next umpteen years. Owens says, well, why don't we just do this? Both careers on the line. If you win, I'm gone. You keep the fine, whatever. I'll never be back. If I win, you're gone from WWE. That is happening this Friday. So this Friday, and also added on that show, was the Four Horsewomen in a tag team rematch from the Madison Square Garden, which makes me wonder, why did you rush a match in Madison Square Garden for these four women if you were going to do it on the Friday Night SmackDown debut on Fox? That just made no sense at all. But also another minor thing about SmackDown is that Carmella, yes, won the 24/7 championship on Monday. She still has it. She still is the 24/7 champion. However, the women's division is frail and weak compared to the men's. And on Monday, you had Sarah Logan and the Iconics, and I can't remember who else, if there was anybody else chasing after her. We get to SmackDown. And leading the charge against Carmella was Ember Moon, and not too far behind them after Sonya Deville was Asuka and Kairi Sane, who had her telescope to her eye while she was running after Carmella. And my heart sank as low as it could go because those are three. You have the four horsewomen who are untouchable: Sasha Banks, Bayley, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte. By the way, Sasha Banks did apparently extended her contract, even though that kind of makes no sense because I remember hearing and reading that she signed a new 3-year deal last year. So why would she be extending her contract already? That makes no sense. Anyway, Sasha Banks, Bayley, Becky Lynch, and Charlotte are your four horsewomen. They are untouchable. They are the top four. When Ronda Rousey's not there, they are the top four women. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Alexa Bliss is right below them with Nikki Cross right now because she's tag team champions with her. But in that same group, right below the four horsewomen, should be Ember Moon, Asuka, and Kairi Sane. No doubt about it. And the fact that you had Ember Moon lose to Lacey Evans the night before, and now she's chasing after that 24/7 championship, that just... And this is a woman who had the SmackDown Live Women's Championship match at SummerSlam. Was it a good match? No. Was it a terrible match? No. It was an okay match. Kairi Sane and Asuka, for a while there, looked like they were groomed to win the tag team championships, so we could possibly see them defend the titles at a takeover or on NXT. But that didn't happen, and they gave them to Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, which these titles have been killed. Taking the titles off of Bayley and Sasha Banks was the biggest mistake. And putting them on the Iconics, by the way, the Idiotics, whatever you want to call them, the Moronics, the Stupidiotics, or whatever the fuck you want to call them. Putting the titles on those two killed those championships. You got into Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss, and nobody cares. Yes, they're going up against the Boston Thug Connection a couple times. My biggest question is that the Boston Thug Connection beat Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss in a tag team match, technically because Nikki Cross was on her own for the majority of the match, but they won that match. Then Sasha Banks beat Nikki Cross again this past week. So she faces Alexa Bliss this week. If she beats Alexa Bliss, does that mean that Bayley and Sasha Banks are going to be getting a tag team title match at Hell in a Cell? On top of Sasha Banks being inside Hell in a Cell, could we possibly see the Boss and Thug Connection finish Hell in a Cell with all the women's gold in their possession? I could see it, and I wouldn't put it past WWE to have that happen. We'll have to wait and see. That is going to be a nice predictions coming up, which, oh my, predictions will be up on Saturday next week, by the way. Moving over here to NXT, it was the Dijakovic and Keith Lee, of course, started the thing, and they just... I liked the match, but it was just... It was too much in a match that didn't need to have that much. You don't need these two going out there trying to kill themselves. The last time we saw these two wrestle, about 3-4 weeks ago, Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic pulled off a top rope Spanish fly that saw Keith Lee's head legitimately hit the mat. I was scared for this guy. That was on tape. So if something bad would have happened, we wouldn't have seen it on NXT television. However, it didn't. Nothing bad happened, and it was done. No harm, no foul. So we get to this past week, and Dijakovic hits a avalanche Canadian Destroyer, gets a 2 count. Buddy Murphy tweeted out, I believe it was, when did the Canadian Destroyer get treated as an arm drag? You have Adam Cole, who in all of his matches against Johnny Gargano and his match against Jordan Miles recently, kept going for the Panama Sunrise, which is a Canadian Destroyer out of the corner. And having Keith Lee kick out of the Canadian Destroyer off the top rope diminishes that move. The Canadian Destroyer was invented by Petey Williams, a dude who won so many matches and so many X Division championships and other championships with that move. That move looked devastating as hell every time Petey Williams used it, and the move just gets thrown around now like it's a setup move, and it's fucking pathetic. That move should be it. Done. Keith Lee got Canadian Destroyer off the top rope into the fucking mat, That's the match. I don't give a fuck who you are. You could be fucking Superman. You could be Iron Man. You could be the fucking Hulk. You take a Canadian destroyer off of the top of the ropes. That's 1, 2, 3. Done. Match is over. I don't care. Those two, like they had to talk. Here's the thing. They two had to go out there, I guess, and talk themselves from the previous match, which honestly is what you try to do if you're somebody who loves wrestling and everything. From what I've seen. For those, it's like you want to go out there, and if you had a good match the first time, you want to have a better match the next time. And yes, if you have a 5-star classic, it's going to be kind of hard to top a 5-star classic in some hindsights. But for these guys, they went from a Spanish fly to a top rope Spanish fly to a Canadian destroyer off an avalanche Canadian destroyer. What are these two going to do next? When is enough enough? Both of those moves could have easily paralyzed somebody. Keith Lee could have been paralyzed in both of those instances. Yes, he's a big dude. The dude's got a humongous neck, so that's probably a good reason why he wasn't severely injured. If somebody else, like if Dominik Dijakovic would have been the one to have his head hit the mat, and he would have been the one executing the Spanish Fly, or he was the one taking the Canadian Destroyer, he could have had his head bounce off the fucking mat, and he could have a severe neck spinal cord injury and be done wrestling. It's too much. And I said this before, and I'll say this again. There was just too much in that match, and it just doesn't need to happen like that. I don't want to see this match again till War Games, because that's clearly where they need to do it. I don't want to see it next. I don't want to see it in week 3, 4, week 5, week 6. I don't want to see it till we get to NXT TakeOver War Games. No doubt about it. Now, my question is, where is this leading? We had something like this before about 2 years ago. The Brits and Bruisers, as Mr. Manola wants to say, call them now, they became a tag team after weeks of having matches against each other. Hard-hitting, brutal matches. They just could not get one up on each other. And the next thing you know, they're tagging up. Is this where this is leading? Is where these guys are just going to have such respect for each other, trying to kill each other out there, that they decide, well, you know what? We might be able to do this to each other. Wonder what we can do to others together. And then we get Lee and Dijakovic as a tag team. Holy shit. If that is the case, that's the tag team that takes the titles off the Undisputed Era. They should be able to run roughshod all over the NXT tag team division. And if that's the case, if that's where this is leading to, maybe War Games, they have the third match, because right now, the fourth match technically, to see who wins the whole thing, because they're 1-1-1 each. Honestly, if it's like the next episode of NXT gets us Dominik Dijakovic and Keith Lee combining forces, they are going to be unstoppable. They're going to be as unstoppable as the War Raiders were in 2018/2019. They won't be stopped by anybody. I think that would be fantastic. One of my biggest things coming into this week's episode of NXT is that WWE is overbooking this week's show. Adam Cole will be facing off against Matt Riddle, who won a crazy-ass street fight, even though I don't know what it is about Matt Riddle versus Killian Dane. I love both of these guys. They're fucking fantastic. But it's just like something about these matches, that this match that they had and what they did last week just don't click as well as they should. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the chemistry isn't there as much as like a Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole, or Dijakovic, Keith Lee, if you want to be more specific. It's just it doesn't feel like the connection is there as it should be. But Adam Cole, now, I'll have to preface this. Adam Cole versus Matt Riddle is scheduled for now. We'll get into it a little bit later why that match might be pulled away. However, they have Shayna Baszler versus Candice LeRae, which is the only title match they needed to do. Now, we also have the Street Profits versus the Undisputed Era. And I don't like the fact that, Raw and Smackdown, for the most part, has done away with automatic rematch clauses. So, why is NXT still doing automatic rematches for championships? The Undisputed Era won the titles. So why are the Street Profits not doing anything, not earning a title shot, getting a rematch? Why did Johnny Gargano lose the championship to Adam Cole and get a rematch for the championship? It's just like, this is not something I want to see in NXT. The championship, the rematch clauses have got to go. And the only other big thing from NXT this week was Imperium took on Kushida and the Fashion Police. That is Marcel Barthel, Fabian Eichner, and Alexander Wolf. Walter was nowhere nearby. By the way, Chris Jericho obviously is not a fan of the name Walter as a wrestling name, so you got to say it like this: Walter. V-U-L, I think it's V-U-L-T-E-R, T-U-R or something, Walter. Don't say Walter. That's, if it was an American calling himself Walter and that's all, yes, that would be funny. That'd be something you make fun of. But he's German. He's a big badass boy, and he will slice your chest into meat. So call him Walter. Just saying that. But Kushida and the Fashion Police, Breezango, win the match, and then Walter comes down and just kicks Kushida in the face. Now, people are speculating this is going to lead to a UK Championship match between these two. I hope that's probably what's going to happen. It's not going to happen this week. That'll probably be week 3, week 4, just because they need something. They need something because you can't have a takeover-like show on Wednesday night for 1 week and then go back to doing just a match here and there, and then everything else just pew. JD from NY206, who does better reviews than I could ever do, did mention on his NXT review this week that he's hoping NXT will go back to the storytelling, the constructive storytelling, the what brought them to the dance. And I hate to be hate to be a bearer of bad news to everybody, but those days of great storytelling in NXT are going to be behind them. Storytelling is not going to matter as much in NXT because WWE. Because this is no longer a development brand on the WWE network in WWE's eyes. It is your third brand. We have to get the storytelling is not going to matter as much as if we beat AEW in the ratings, who's going to care about storylines? That's exactly what this is going to be. But as I say that, I'm hoping that Kushida and 3 other guys will be taking on Walter and Imperium inside War Games. There are people still expecting because the Undisputed Era has been in both War Games so far that they are going to be in War Games number 3. I don't see it that way. There is absolutely no reason why you give these guys all 3 championships and then put them in War Games. If I'm Adam Cole in the Undisputed Era, I don't want to be in War Games this year. I think it's time to give other talent that spotlight in War Games. So, I've already proposed, because Matt Riddle got attacked by Imperium. Because if you want to build this, you could have Imperium come down and attack Matt Riddle. Because a lot of people are speculating to see Tommaso Ciampa come out and get physical at this coming Wednesday show. I wouldn't expect that because, quite honestly, the guy just had neck surgery in April. There's no goddamn way he's going to be able to be cleared to be physical in NXT. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's going to not be able to be physical until about January or February. But I could see Matt Riddle, Kushida, maybe Johnny Gargano, because Gargano really has no other way to get on TakeOver, and he's been on every TakeOver in the last 2.5 years, and he's missed a Johnny TakeOver. So, Johnny Gargano, Kushida, Matt Riddle, and... because I think Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic are going to be at War Games. Who would be the 4th person for them? I would say maybe Pete Dunne. Maybe Pete Dunne gets another run. No, yeah, I would say Pete Dunne maybe could get a run. Maybe it's Kushida and British Strong Style. I could be wrong, but it just feels like you have Kushida being attacked by, being, pursued or having to fight Imperium. There's got to be a reason to do that other than just have Kushida versus Walter for the UK Championship. I could see this easily being War Games right here. This is the build to War Games. This is the only thing that's being built to NXT TakeOver War Games right now. because they're being focused on next week, this week's show. My question is, after this week's show's over, where the hell do you go from there? So, I don't want to hear anyone saying, oh, this is Triple H telling you he's not fucking around. No, this is Triple H getting scared that if he doesn't go out there and give you a mini takeover, that you're going to go watch AEW and not his show, even though AEW, like, here's the thing. AEW needs our help more than NXT. NXT has been here on the network for 5 years, has been around. This version of NXT as a whole, has been around for 9 years. The first 2 of those years was that awful game show that they did. Then in the summer, then the August of 2012, they made it into what you like. They started building it to what you see today. So for about 7 years, NXT has been around. It's been on the network since 2014, but NXT is going nowhere. I want to help AEW. I know you should want to help AEW. For the simple fact is, AEW is an alternative for wrestlers who don't get a chance in WWE, or people who don't see WWE as a viable option at this time, because WWE's main roster and NXT as a whole are flooded with superstars. There are so many people in the Performance Center we have not seen yet. There are so many people on Raw and SmackDown that we have not seen in a while, that they don't need to be signing anybody. WWE is just signing people to sign them. So we as a wrestling community need to band together and watch NXT on the WWE Network or on a DVR later, and watch AEW just to see what the product's going to be like. But here's the thing: if AEW's got, I give it a month. AEW's got to have this shit together by the beginning of November. Because if they come out there and just, just go out there, make jokes, and trying to do, let's bring BTE to TNT, they're going to fail in no time. And I don't want them to do that, because you'll have guys like Jon Moxley, Jericho's going to have to go back to Japan, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Sonny Kiss, Hangman Page, MJF. MJF will have to be an MLW, and that's it. All these other guys who are sitting there, wanting to go out there and give you one hell of a show. If AEW ends up failing because of stupid shit that they want to do, then we, as a community, will have to realize that WWE just is going to be the be-all, end-all, and that's all that. Now, like I said, I'm going to give AEW my attention on Wednesday. NXT, of course, will be on Thursday, as it should be, because we, as a community, don't need to see. It's just there's so many good options. This is not 1996. Was it 96? Yeah, 96, right? 96. Yeah, 96 to 2000. Oh, 94. Wait, no, 94. Yeah, this isn't 94 to 2001, where it was either Raw or Nitro, unless you were somebody who had a lot of fucking money and had 2 boxes in your house, or 2 ways to watch cable in your house. That there's just so many ways to watch the product now. You can watch on DVR. You can watch NXT on the network. You can watch on any of these websites that do wrestling streams if you want to. If you don't want to, watch it on that regular television. There's so many different ways to do this, and it's just like, this is going to be great for us if AEW succeeds. NXT, even if they go out there and they start having declining ratings, which we'll talk about their ratings in a bit, they are not going anywhere, because they are backed by $1 billion corporation, a $1 billion company that is they're just wrestling. The Khan family, who are backing AEW, are not just wrestling. They're the NFL. They have NFL and a Premier League club that they work on. If AEW starts failing and they're losing money after, I think, the first 3 years, after the first, if they lose way too much money and they don't see a reason to continue to pay or put money in to help build this franchise up or this company up, AEW will go out of business. That's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So we, as a community, should give AEW a chance. If you're frustrated with WWE, you're frustrated with them insulting your intelligence, them just going out there and making fools of themselves because they don't give a shit, and you want something different, give AEW a chance. NXT will be there on Thursday or later that night if you have the ability and you want to DVR it. So that is the beginning of the show. We're going to go into our news here in a minute. Alright, we are back, and I gotta say, I'm using OBS now, and there's an update. They have a new pause feature, which I think is pretty absolutely cool. I can pause the stream, pause the recording, go downstairs, get something to drink, bring it back up here, and not have to miss a beat. So, where are we going to start today? Well, WWE is apparently bringing back Pyro. WWE will begin making significant changes to the looks of Raw and SmackDown next week. WWE is set to bring back Pyro to their weekly TV shows. According to a new report from WrestleVotes, it was now noted that fireworks will once again be a fixture on WWE programming, which came after WWE reportedly cut back on expenses a few years ago. It was reported over the weekend via WrestleVotes that this is the final week that WWE is using the current entrances that we saw, which has been used since August of 2016. If anybody remembers the first month of the brand split, Raw and SmackDown had different sets. They felt different. Raw had this picture, they had this screen with an arch over it. SmackDown looked completely different. I can't remember what it looked like. But we got to SummerSlam, and the set just looked like the set was different from what you saw for Raw and SmackDown. We got to Monday and Tuesday. We all put it off as, well, they're in the Barclays Center. Why would you... It'd be a waste of time to tear down the SummerSlam set, put up Raw set, tear it down, put up the SmackDown set. So we all put it as like, oh, it'll be back to what we had before SummerSlam the next week. We were wrong as we go to the next week and the weeks after that, and it's the same set we had since SummerSlam of 2016. So, yeah. It's great. It's great to see what's going to happen there. They're also going to be bringing back the opening themes since Raw 25. The episode of Raw 25, they had this special opening package, and then they got rid of them. I don't know why. Was it really cost effective to get rid of those opening themes? That got you hyped for the shows. Like that and Pyro got you hyped for the shows. You went out there and it's like, oh shit, this is like Monday Night Raw. Let's get ready for this shit. But those will be coming back too. AC/DC will be providing the SmackDown theme. Are You Ready? I believe it is. And then there's a theme for Skillet for Monday Night Raw. So at least those are coming back. I know WWE Monday Night Raw did tease an opening theme a couple weeks ago when the attack on Roman Reigns was continuing and Samoa Joe was fingered as the guy behind it. Or people were expecting that. And they started with the opening theme, and then Samoa Joe cut it off, and that was the only time we had it since then. So I'm excited to see what the sets are going to look like, just because I don't want Raw and SmackDown to feel the same. There is absolutely no reason when you have a show in, you have a show in, New Hampshire for Raw, in LA, you're going to be in the Staples Center for SmackDown, that you have the same set for both of those shows. Raw, SmackDown, and the pay-per-views have all looked the same except for maybe the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania this year, when the Royal Rumble was just a dugout for their entrances, so they didn't have the big, huge screen monitor for that, or the big, huge Titantron. And, of course, WrestleMania gets its special perk, and, of course, the Saudi shows do, too. I mean, I haven't watched anything outside the Greatest Royal Rumble, but even I know that they use different sets for those because they're getting that Saudi money. Of course, with the Saudi Arabian shows, which they're going back on Halloween, which we've known that for a while, and the big deals for Fox and NBC Universal going to start kicking in, I believe, this week, SmackDown and Raw need Pyro. Now, if they don't want to do Pyro for everything, that is fine. Not everything needs Pyro. The Pyro should be for the opening of the show. Brock Lesnar for sure should be getting Pyro because he does his jump up thing and he should get Pyro. But not everybody deserves Pyro. I don't want to, the Viking Raiders should have Pyro. I don't even know, but AJ Styles should have his little mini Pyro thing that he has back. The New Day should not have pyro. They don't need pyro. They don't need pyro. It doesn't fit their gimmick. Like, Mike Kanellis comes out. He doesn't need pyro. Braun Strowman, when he goes, whoa, if they want to do some pyro, that's fine, but you don't have to use pyro for everybody. Not everybody deserves pyro. If you want to, like, The Fiend, will The Fiend have pyro? Most likely not, because he doesn't need pyro. It doesn't work with his gimmick. Just like the opening of each show should have pyro. Goldberg, if he comes back, pyro. When he walked out on SmackDown a couple months ago, and there was no pyro, it felt weird to see Goldberg walk out walk out just for a promo or anything with zero pyro. So, yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section below about pyro returning and sets changing and everything else. The new Raw logo and SmackDown logo look okay, I guess. I'm okay with the Raw logo. I just don't like that they went from the dark red to a pinkish red. I'm just gonna say that. Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW on TNT, and Unscripted possibly at Unscripted at 100 will have a different thing. But Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and AEW on Raw, SmackDown, NXT have brand new layouts for me that I had made up. It was something I threw together just because I do my own things. But yes, AEW on TNT also has its own thing, but we'll see what happens when we get to those. Fox wants The Fiend. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Fox wants The Fiend. There's been a lot of rumors about Fox representatives wanting certain superstars on SmackDown. For the big moves to the network this coming up, Ronda Rousey, Brock Lesnar, of course, those are obvious. Now the word is the network officials want The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, on the Blue brand. It was reported that WrestleVotes this week that Fox wants Wyatt and his alter ego on SmackDown. However, it likely won't be happening, as Raw Executive Director Paul Heyman is said to be a gigantic fan of Wyatt. Wyatt is expected to stay on Raw, but that wasn't confirmed. It will be interesting to see which superstars are sent to SmackDown in the draft, and if Raw will remain the A show with the better roster. Not happening one bit with the A show, because SmackDown is going to network TV. There are way more eyes on Fox than there are on the USA Network, whether you like it or not. They had a SmackDown Greatest Hits thing on Fox on Friday, and it did a 1.0 or 1.1 in the ratings, which is damn good for a show that they hardly promoted. But like I said, if they want Bray Wyatt to go to SmackDown and get him on SmackDown, you have an easy out, because you better not even think. If the Universal title is on the line at Hell in a Cell, Bray Wyatt wins, or you really fuck this shit up. You already damaged him by having him run away looking like a scared child when Seth Rollins hit 3 stomps on him, which should not have happened. The lights went out. The lights went out as we went off the air. The Fiend should have disappeared, and that was that. Seth Rollins is in the ring, and the Fiend is gone. You should not have had the Fiend taking 3 curb stomps, the lights going out again, barely going out, and everyone seeing the Fiend run away as if he's scared of Seth Rollins. That does more damage than you think, you dumbasses. Anyway. If they want to grant, and you got to take this with a grain of salt, because yes, WrestleVotes gets a lot right, but they're not right about everything. If this is legit, and somehow, and of course, Fox is going to get almost anything they want from WWE because they're paying him so much goddamn money. If this is true, and they get the Fiend on SmackDown, how are you going to stop him from winning the Universal Championship? That's easy. Rey Mysterio wins the Universal title. You get Seth Rollins versus The Fiend inside Hell in a Cell. The Fiend wins that match handedly, and then you have the draft with The Fiend going to SmackDown. Update on 205 Live. It is reportedly moving to Friday nights, of course. And WWE, we're going around at SmackDown from the Chase Center this past week is that 205 Live will be moving to Friday nights at 10 p.m. on the WWE Network. The change is set to begin as the week of October 4th. This is the same night that SmackDown premieres on Fox Live from the Staples Center. Well, Of course, it's going to have to move to Fridays if you're going to have it be live after Smackdown, because Smackdown moves to Fridays and is no longer on Tuesday. So how are you going to do that any other way? It was in an update, Dave Meltzer noted on Wrestling Observer Radio that this is not a permanent schedule change. 205 Live will air from Los Angeles this Friday after SmackDown goes out the air, but the company has not decided on if they will keep the show on Fridays. It was noted that several ideas are being thrown around, including possibly ending 205 Live altogether until they come to a final decision. The future of the show will air on the network after SmackDown goes out the airs on Friday. It was also reported earlier this week that that NXT creative team is now handling 205 Live, which I thought they were doing that in the first place. Meltzer noted that Triple H is in charge of 205 Live and described it as his show. Apparently, 205 Live is suffering from low viewership on the network. As well, Meltzer noted that the network numbers show that the show hasn't done well in a long time. He speculated that it would be more cost-effective for WWE to sell an hour of weekly post-SmackDown programming on the FS1 or some other network than to tape 205 Live from airing on the network each week. Here's a good idea. How about you take 205 Live, because you already had the Cruiserweight Championship #1 contender named on the first episode of NXT in that excellent match against Oni Lorcan and Leo Rush. Here's an idea. How about you put 205 Live down at NXT and you have it be integrated into NXT? How about you have it be, if you want to keep it on the network and you want to keep it 205 Live, here's a really, really good idea. You could put it on before or after NXT on the USA Network live at Full Sail. You could have Tom Phillips, Aiden English, and Byron Saxton, if you want to, be your commentary group, because none of those guys are doing anything. Which, by the way, they didn't mention who's going to be taking over. We'll talk about that in a bit. Who's going to be taking over for those who were on 205 Live. They didn't mention any of that. But speaking of a UK, NXT UK series will now be moving to a new time slot this coming week. It was announced during the episode this week that the show will begin airing on Thursdays at 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. BST time, starting with this week's episode coming up. NXT UK has been airing on Wednesday at 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. BST time since it was launched in October 2018. A new slot has been rumored since it was announced that the NXT main show will be released on the WWE Network on Thursdays, 24 hours after it airs on the USA Network on Wednesdays. Beginning next week, the weekly NXT UK episodes will be released to the WWE Network at 3 p.m. on Thursdays, while the main NXT episode will be released on the network at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. So there you go. If you are a viewer of NXT UK, you will not be able to watch it on the network until Thursdays at normal time. So if you're someone who watches the network for NXT UK, you just have to wait another day. WWE is adding more programming to an already busy week of wrestling. It has been confirmed via press release that Tuesday will feature FS1's at WWE Backstage, a television program and studio show devoted to all things WWE. The hour-long show will be every Tuesday at 11 p.m. Eastern to 8 p.m. Pacific Time, November 5th. So, if you are an Impact Wrestling fan, it will not impede on you watching Impact Wrestling starting at the end of the month. Renee Young will be the host of the show, while Booker T will be a providing analyst. WWE Backstage is a wrestling show for WWE wrestling fans, from hardcore fans to people new to wrestling. We'll give them a little bit of everything. Renee said, it's going to be fun, it's going to be loud, we're going to give them a ton of opinions, and I can't wait to help spread the word about SmackDown coming to Fox. According to Fox Sports, there will be a special preview show on Tuesday, October 15th, following the conclusion of Game 3 of the MLB ALCS. On FS1, Young and Booker T will be revealing the backstage set. Since June, rumors have been swirling regarding an opportunity for Young to do more than commentary. This is especially true after SmackDown was moved to Fridays on Fox starting next week on October 4th. Back in April, Triple H spoke about the opportunity of a show on FS1, according to the former champion. The WWE Studio show on Fox will feature discussions on various WWE happenings, plus appearances by familiar faces from past and present. It will be the first major role for Booker T in quite some time, as he as late has been made appearances on WWE TV on the pay-per-view kickoff show. Let me see here. So yeah, the FS1 show is going to be interesting. So we have backstage. Renee Young and Booker T have been confirmed. I believe Kathy Kelly is also going to be on there. They've done shoot spots, like they've done spots for FS, like for people to come on and do stuff, from Mickey James to Rey Mysterio to Jerry the King Lawler to others. We'll get into that a little bit later, what else is going on. But for now, the commentary teams have been revealed for WWE Premiere Week. The Raw and SmackDown teams are no more the same. They will be changed starting now. WWE will feature 8 hours of primetime coverage next week with WWE, Raw, NXT, Total Divas, and Friday Night SmackDown's Fox premiere. WWE has confirmed that the new Raw announced team will feature Vic Joseph, Dio Madden, who I've only heard from the Clash of Champions kickoff show during the Cruiserweight Championship match, and Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler. The NXT announced team will keep Mauro Ranallo, Nigel McGuinness, and Hall of Famer Beth Phoenix. That's smart. And SmackDown will feature Michael Cole, Corey Graves, and Renee Young. In an update to next week's episode of NXT on USA, as this was also put in here, Shane Thorne versus Johnny Gargano, plus a new The Velveteen Dream Experience segment, which is going to be interesting to see because Roderick Strong burned his couch. Can't wait to see that one. Here's your WWE.com briefing. Stamford, Connecticut, WWE Premiere Week ushers in an unprecedented era of coverage with special episodes of Raw, NXT, Total Divas, and Fox debut of Friday Night SmackDown, bringing fans 8 hours of primetime programming. You mean 7 because if you're a wrestling fan, you don't watch the shit called Total Divas. As part of the Premiere Week, new voices will be brought to the Raw, NXT, and SmackDown broadcast, which makes no sense why they say NXT because it's keeping the same team. Raw's new announced team will include play-by-play from Vic Joseph with Dio Madden and Hall of Famer Jerry the King Lawler serving as analysts. NXT play-by-play will be called by Mauro Ranallo, while Beth Phoenix and Nigel McGuinness as analysts. And SmackDown will feature Michael Cole handling play-by-play, Corey Graves serving as an analyst, and Renee Young as a special contributor. I don't know what special contributor means. Who knows what's going to happen there, but maybe that's just something that she's not going to be there all the time, because quite honestly, if she's going to be doing backstage, she should be doing that and that only. The season premiere on Monday Night Raw airs 8/7 Central on the USA Network as the Universal Champion Seth Rollins defends his title against Rey Mysterio. The Miz hosts the Hall of Famer on Hulk Hogan in a special edition of Miz TV. Brock Lesnar makes a special appearance. AJ Styles defends his United States title against Cedric Alexander. And Alexa Bliss takes on Sasha Banks. Cedric versus AJ. That is an interesting one. Why is that interesting? Because Cedric got beat in less than 5 minutes on the pre-show to Clash of Champions. And then the next night was beaten in a in a 6-man tag match with the Viking Raiders and then destroyed later, as soon as that match was over. So we could see, will we see a title change? I don't know. The biggest thing that could happen, and Dave Meltzer pointing this out on the Raw review show, that AJ losing could mean AJ could be going back to SmackDown. If Cedric loses, he could be going to SmackDown, which we'll have to wait and see what happens. But Paul Heyman is a big supporter of Cedric Alexander, so if Vince McMahon, the rumors of Vince McMahon wanting Cedric Alexander to be buried, I can believe because of how it was last week. However, if Cedric Alexander wins the United States Championship, then we all know that was bullshit. However, again, if Cedric Alexander is moved to SmackDown, that's taking him away from Paul Heyman, and that adds to the belief that Vince McMahon wanted Cedric Alexander buried. Okay, so yeah, Cedric Alexander we'll have to see what happens. NXT will make its 2-hour live premiere this Wednesday, October 2nd on USA Network at 8/7 Central as the Undisputed Era defend their Golden Prophecy and the NXT Tag Team Champions in a match against the Street Profits. Also, NXT Champion Adam Cole defends his title against Matt Riddle. NXT Women's Champion Shayna Baszler takes on Candice LeRae. Johnny Gargano competes against Shane Thorne, and fans can witness the Velveteen Dream Experience. This says on here immediately following NXT is Total Divas, but that's actually going to be on Tuesday now, so yeah. SmackDown's 20th anniversary will kick off on a new era on Friday Night SmackDown's highly anticipated move to Fox Broadcast Network on October 4th at 8 p.m. Eastern Pacific Time. Why does that say 8 p.m. Eastern Pacific Time? Because SmackDown will be airing on tape delay, I believe, at 8 p.m. Pacific Time and not 5 p.m. Eastern Time, Pacific Time. So, when champion Kofi Kingston puts his title on the line against Brock Lesnar, the Four Horsewomen also square off as Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair team up against SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley and Sasha Banks in a tag team competition. Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon look to finally settle their ongoing dispute in a high-stakes ladder match with the loser forced to leave WWE. Prior to the premiere on Friday Night SmackDown kickoff show, Blue Carpet Special will air at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Pacific Time on Fox from the Staples Center, featuring celebrities, superstars, and legend rivals, as well as backstage access. So, there you go. There is your slate. However, another match has been added as of yesterday, I believe, or on Friday. The WWE has announced Heavy Machinery will take on the Raw Tag Team Champions Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode for Monday's season premiere episode. This will be the first title defense for Roode and Ziggler, who captured the titles from Braun Strowman and Universal Champion Seth Rollins at Clash of Champions. Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live, and NXT on the USA Network this is all going to be a huge week for WWE. AEW as well, they have got to go out there, as it has been said many times in my lifetime, as well as I've heard it so many times. You only get to make a first impression one time. AEW's first impression is going to be Sammy Guevara versus Cody Rhodes, the Hangman Page versus Pac, the Women's Championship match, and the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega versus Chris Jericho, and possibly the formerly known as LAX. So, it's going to be a huge, huge, huge week. And if you're not excited about this week, I don't know what to tell you. Former Intercontinental Champion and Tag Team Champion John Hennigan, a.k.a. John Morrison, Johnny Impact, Johnny Mundo, has reportedly signed a deal to return to WWE, according to PW Insider. The 39-year-old last worked for WWE 8 years ago in 2011. Since then, he has made stints with Impact Wrestling, Lucha Underground, and other promotions. There's no word yet on when Hennigan will make his return to the company or if he will resume use of Morrison's name. Stay tuned for updates on his return. Now, John Morrison, like John Hennigan, reported this, responded to this. He replied with, "Thanks for the heads up at PWInsider.com. Please let me know when I'm signed to Ring of Honor or AEW." Before we get into everything, if he is coming back, which you take this with a grain of salt, you take this with a grain of salt, because do you really expect him to say, "Oh yeah, I'm coming back, I'll see you guys"? No. If he's coming back to WWE, they're going to try and keep this as he's no fool. John Hennigan has been in the wrestling business for long enough. He knows that if WWE wants to make this a huge secret, a big surprise, whether it's on Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, then he's going to want to go out there. He's going to go out there and deny this as much as he can. For all we know, he could be the guy. Everyone's talking about Tommaso Ciampa coming out and preventing Matt Riddle from winning the championship, because it's like, no, Adam Cole, you're not losing that title to anybody but me. What if John Morrison is the guy? Lights come out, lights go back on, lights go out, lights come back on, and John Morrison is in the NXT ring this coming Wednesday, taking out Matt Riddle, taking out Adam Cole, holds up the NXT championship, drops it, and walks out. That would be a magnificent way to end NXT. Now, I say he needs to go to NXT. John Hennigan is going to have, or John Morrison, John Hennigan, whatever you want to call it, whatever he's going to be called, if he goes to Raw or SmackDown, first off, he shouldn't be going to either one of those shows because he hasn't been in WWE for 8 long years. That's one reason. The landscape of WWE has changed so much since the last time John Morrison was in WWE. Number 2, This is the biggest thing. This goes all the way back to 2010, or 2009, when Christian made his return to WWE. He came back. He was in Impact Wrestling from 2005 to 2009 for 4 goddamn years. And he was the instant classic. He was fucking awesome in Impact Wrestling TNA. He didn't resign. He came back to WWE. Yes, he won the ECW championship. And what did they do with him after that? When ECW went down in 2010, he should have been the final ECW champion, but what did they do? They had one final match for the ECW championship on that final episode, and Creative wanted Christian to win that match, to be the final ECW champion, but Vince McMahon, being Vince McMahon, did not want that. He had Ezekiel Jackson, for some goddamn reason, have on his resume the final WWE ECW champion. The only reason Christian won the World Heavyweight Championship a year later was because of Edge's injury. What happened 2 nights later at the Smackdown taping? Him and Randy Orton had a match for the World Heavyweight Championship. Randy Orton beat Christian. Like that. Like that. RKO, out of nowhere. 1, 2, 3. Christian Christian and the one more match stuff, and him and Randy Orton, that stuff was good. That was around the summer of Punk. But after that, they did nothing with him. Pull forward to 2018. EC3, who was Derek Bateman back in 2012 or 2013, left WWE and came to Impact Wrestling as EC3, Ethan Carter III. He became a big goddamn name because Impact Wrestling actually gave this guy a goddamn chance. Multiple time Impact Wrestling World Champion. Undefeated for about, 2 years? Yes, I know when they first brought him in, he was going up against the same 2 jobbers over and over and over again. But the guy that came into Impact Wrestling and left Impact Wrestling with 2 totally different guys. He comes to NXT. There's actually a video up that someone put up that showed EC3 making an entrance in NXT to one of these times that he was on main event. And just look at the guy's demeanor. Look at how he acts from the one he has, when he's spelling his name, pointing to his letters and number. In NXT, he's got confidence. He's going out there to give you a good fucking time. He's ready to go out there and kick ass, take names, and give you a goddamn match that you want to talk about. And then you see the one on main event. This guy, just whatever confidence he had, WWE sucked out of him like nobody else. What happened to him? Why would they do this? Because EC3, just like Christian, went over to Impact Wrestling and made a bigger name for himself than he could have ever been in WWE. The guy at EC3 looks like a guy that Vince McMahon should be salivating over. He is ripped. He is shredded. He looks like somebody that should be pushed to the goddamn moon and we fans will vote against. But he hasn't done anything outside of winning the 24/7 championship. He was in that 6-man ladder match for the North American Championship, and he held his own. He was fucking good in that match. And they haven't done anything with him. Drew McIntyre falls under this as well. Drew McIntyre leaves WWE not because he wanted to, because WWE released him. He goes into the independents, and he's one of these guys, and I'm going to say this again. You want to see Drew McIntyre, where he pours his heart and soul into one of the greatest promos I have ever fucking heard. Type into YouTube. Go to your YouTube and type in Drew Galloway returns to WCPW. Joe Hendry and Joseph Connors were having a match, I believe. Or Joseph Connors is going to try and attack Joe Hendry with a chair. The lights go out. The lights come back on. Drew Galloway is standing in the ring with the hood over. He pulls his hood back, and the crowd just goes ballistic. And it was one of the greatest fucking promos you will ever see. And it was not from anyone's script. It came from the guy's heart. He put his whole entire fucking journey from where he was at, where he started, to his time in WWE, to getting released. And how he was not going to leave WWE and be just one of these novelty acts, one of these nostalgia acts. He was going to go out there and reinvent himself. He became a WCPW World Champion. He became, in Impact Wrestling, the Impact Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion. He became a big fucking deal. ICW, I believe he won the world title there as well. He was just a talk of the independent town. He comes back to NXT. He comes to NXT. He wanted to go to NXT, not to the main roster. He wanted to go to NXT. And he was just as fantastic in NXT that he was in What Culture Pro Wrestling and Impact Wrestling and ICW. He goes to the main roster. After he got injured, he was out. Which, who knows what they would have did with him if he would have been brought up after Survivor Series, which was the original plan. And they team him with Dolph Ziggler, and he's Dolph Ziggler's boy. Then it's him, Dolph Ziggler, and Braun Strowman. And then what was it called again? The Dogs of War. And then it was a three-man brand, as everyone quoted it, with Darby Lashley, Baron Corbin, and Drew McIntyre. And outside of his match with Ricochet and Cedric Alexander, pre-King of the Ring with him and Cedric Alexander, and his match with Cedric Alexander and Ricochet in King of the Ring, he has done nothing on his own. When he eventually comes back, I hope they do something with him, because this guy should have been... He is, again, just like EC3, somebody Vince McMahon should be getting a hard-on for in gorilla position and pushing this guy to the fucking moon, because this guy is fucking fantastic. Go watch him and Will Ospreay from Exit Wounds if you can find it on YouTube. It is a fantastic match. In my opinion, I like him as a babyface. Him as a heel, I don't know, because WWE hasn't booked him right as a heel. But him as a babyface was fucking fantastic in the Indies and fantastic in NXT. And Bobby Lashley, same thing. He was in WWE about 10 years ago. He left. He went to do MMA. He went to Impact TNA, left TNA, went back to TNA, and became Walking Armageddon. Had multiple time Impact Wrestling World Championships. Dude was just he should have never left Impact Wrestling to come back to WWE, in my opinion. It's probably because he could make more money in WWE, but honestly, him leaving Impact Wrestling was probably the biggest mistake he made, because they knew how to use him. They knew how to use Bobby Lashley. WWE does not. And that's just some examples right there. You go somewhere else. Make a name for yourself. Become a world champion to somebody else. John Hennigan was world champion in Impact Wrestling up until Slammiversary, if I'm correct. Yeah, until Slammiversary. So it's just if he goes to NXT, he'll be used and appreciated and probably get a good run. He goes to Raw, SmackDown, he'll be John Morrison from back in the day, who just was a mid-card act, and his ceiling was mid-card, and that was it. And he knows, just as well as everyone else does, that he is better than that. So, if he's coming to WWE, which I hope he's not, I would be much better if he was actually going to AEW and became Johnny whatever. Johnny whatever. But if I had a choice, it's NXT or AEW. Plain and simple. Speaking of NXT, their viewership for the first hour on the drew a 1.006 viewers on the USA Network. This is down 14.7% from last week's USA Network premiere, which drew 1.179 million viewers and ranked 4th in Cable Top 150 and 19th in viewership. Last week's second hour on NXT aired on WWE on Network, and viewership for that service is not available. Both hours of NXT will begin airing on USA Network this week. This was expected, quite honestly. The first episode of NXT should have... honestly, if I'm going to be really honest about this, NXT getting 1.1 was actually kind of, I think, a big disappointment. This is your premiere on USA Network. This is yes, in hindsight, it is a great number for the first time, but you have been hyping this for weeks. Hyping it for about 3 or 4 weeks. And the best you could do is a 1.1. And then you dropped, which obviously it was going to drop. AEW, here's the thing. AEW should have a strong rating in their first episode because they're making history. It's the first time in almost 20 years, that in 18 years or so, that wrestling has been on Turner Broadcasting Network, TNT, or the TNT, since March of 2001. That is ridiculous. TNT, it should be a huge number on that first episode. But episode 2, if it drops, if it has a 14% drop, if it starts out a 1.1 and it drops, not a problem. For the simple fact is, not everyone's going to hang around after that first episode. You're going to get a bigger audience in that first episode than you will have. It's going to fluctuate for a bit. If you get people to stick around and you get people to continue to watch, then you're going to have something. Now, speaking of this week's episode of NXT, it has been named that we're going to have 3 title matches, and one of those title matches could possibly be in jeopardy. Adam Cole, most likely suffering from a legitimate injury. The leader of the Undisputed Era was originally scheduled to wrestle on the current NXT Road Trip live event tour on the Midwest, but he was removed from the ring, according to Dave Meltzer. Cole has been wearing a cast on his right wrist at times and hasn't wrestled in a few weeks, according to the report. He did do the in-ring angle with Matt Riddle on Wednesday's episode. Cole did not wrestle a match Thursday's live event from Des Moines, Iowa, as the main event saw North American champion Roderick Strong retain over Pete Dunne. He also did not wrestle at Friday's live event for Independence, Missouri. That main event saw Dunne and the Street Profits defeat Strong with the tag team champions of Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. We don't know if Cole was backstage for the shows, but he did not appear. Cole vs. Riddle is still scheduled Wednesday's NXT episode on the USA Network with the title on the line. WWE has been issuing these post-injury update reports, noted that Cole suffered a fracture on the right arm during the run-in with Riddle. It was also noted that Cole was sent to the emergency room after the attack, but that he was still scheduled to defend the title this coming week. These new injury reports are mainly for the storylines, but there have been mentions of legitimate injuries such as the stitches that Conor Reeves needed to have last week after having a dark match loss to Damian Priest. Here's the thing. This entire thing, which will let you know about Cole's status if there's anything this coming Wednesday. The whole cast thing could just be him playing up the story that I have a quote-unquote fracture, but if he's legitimately injured, this match will be scrapped, plain and simple. Which, I don't want to see anyone get injured. I don't want to see anybody injured. But honestly, if the match has to be scrapped, I don't think it's a bad thing. Do they need to rush out another title match for that? No. This week's episode of NXT should have been one title match and one title match only. Candice LeRae versus Shayna Baszler. We do not need to make NXT on USA Network takeover-esque. If you're going to start doing that, then you need to cancel takeovers and not do another takeover, period. There's already talk of them not doing takeovers and get takeovers during the Big Four pay-per-views next year, which during WrestleMania they can't because of the Hall of Fame. But if you're going to load up an NXT takeover-esque show on Wednesdays, not every week, but every so often, there's absolutely no reason to have takeovers then. Which, in my opinion, is a goddamn problem. Takeovers should mean more than TV. And what you're doing this show this coming Wednesday, you're telling me that that takeovers are going to start mattering less, and I don't want that to happen. But this could be kayfabe. This could be him having his hand casted to play up to the fact that he has a fracture. Because honestly, if you're putting these reports out there that Adam Cole has a fracture and he's off wrestling the house show the next night, then people are going to say that's a bullshit report. So it could just be that WWE is having Adam Cole play up to the fact that they reported that he has a fracture in his arm. I'm hoping it's not an injury, but if you go back and watch the footage from the second hour when they show the Undisputed Era still in the ring, Adam Cole is legitimately grabbing his wrist and he's doing like those like breathing, trying to keep the pain down. So if he's legitimately injured, that fucking sucks. And I hope the best for him. I hope it's not a legit injury. But if it is, they're gonna have to cancel the match and figure something else out, which Triple H will figure something else out. Or you just have the 2 title matches and you extend one. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. The big story this week is CM Punk. Again, because we can't not let this guy fucking go. It was speculated in the latest edition of Wrestling Observer newsletter that if CM Punk returns to pro wrestling, it will be with WWE. There is an impression from WWE that they believe he wants back in the company, but right now it's nothing that they're counting on happening, which you shouldn't. Regarding Punk in AEW, the Observer noted how he did receive an opening offer from AEW a while back, but then he made himself scarce and was negative towards the company during an interview with Mark Ramoni on ESPN back in July. It looks like there will be no contact between AEW and Punk since then. We will be talking about that here in a minute. What's going on with what on AEW side, because Brandy and Cody Rhodes were were interviewed earlier this week and they talked about that. But Punk's representative went to Fox to try and push Punk as a co-host of the new WWE Backstage Studio show on FS1. WWE was not interested in Punk for that role, but the Observer also noted that the feeling that even though WWE went after Punk fairly hard in a lawsuit with Dr. Amon, costing him a dollar amount in the 7 figures, WWE is still the place that he feels he can make the most money. Which I don't. Yeah, that's true, but people are like, oh well, Tony Khan and AEW have unlimited resources now. They're going to have all the money in the world to make this thing work. That is bullshit. Now, that'd be one thing if Tony Khan was in the wrestling business for many years and he had a shit ton of money just to put into the wrestling business. But the Khan family don't just, this is like, for WWE, this is it, just WWE. There's nothing else. Yes, Vince McMahon's doing the XFL next year. We'll talk about the draft here in a minute. But that's it. This is it for WWE. They have professional wrestling in their branches in WWE, the company. That's not the same with Tony Khan and Shad Khan, who's the main backer. They have the Jacksonville Jaguars. They have, I think it's Fulham. I can't remember what I think it's Fulham is their football club in the UK. But they have those 2 ventures right there that they have to put money into or have to worry about. Wrestling is not their main priority. They do not have unlimited resources. They have a lot more resources than TNA ever did, but they don't have the unlimited resources that WWE does. So if Punk can make more money in WWE, that is where he's going to go. Punk appeared at StarCast 3 last month and was asked if he would take a call and have a conversation if Vince McMahon and Triple H called him. He said he's open to speaking to anyone, but he won't be the one reaching out, which I wouldn't expect him to anyway. Punk, who turns 41 next month, left WWE in 2014, has not officially wrestled a match since then. Officially, no. But, CM Punk, and we have a couple more on this in a minute, is a guy who likes to troll the fans. There was a independent show about 3 or 4 months ago that, a couple hours before the show, Punk was in the area. He had on a certain sweater that had a certain emblem and wording on it that only could be found, I believe, at where he trains at. So when somebody comes out wearing a mask and gloves to hide because CM Punk is tattooed from all over, that so you can hide what he looks like, and the only thing that you can distinguish from the masked person to CM Punk is that exact same sweater. People put 2 and 2 together, and there you go. CM Punk has the bug. He does. He can sit there and deny, I don't want to be around wrestling anymore. If that was the case, CM Punk, I don't care who, if you're a friend of somebody, if they ask you to be a part of your wrestling show and do a spot, if you could hide yourself, and you would not do it because you're like, I don't want to be a part of wrestling, period, and they would understand that. He's got the bug. Does he want to wrestle anymore? Probably not. He's going to be 41 years old. honestly, CM Punk, if he would have stayed in WWE and never left 5 years ago, I would say he probably would have still been wrestling for maybe another 2-3 years, and then possibly working in NXT or on the main roster in a commentary position. Because if you remember, in 2000 and what was it, 12 with the People Power shit when they did the whole walkout. And before that, I'm sorry, no, it was 2010 with the Nexus thing. He was injured. He came out and he was on commentary. He was like a breath of fresh air when it came to commentary because it was Cole and King and CM Punk. And CM Punk just wiped the floor with those two when it came to commentary. So CM Punk, if he wants to come back, I can understand him being in commentary. If he doesn't want to wrestle anymore, don't expect him to wrestle. I hear people were at fucking All Out, having their phones out when Jericho won the championship, wanting to capture that Kodiak moment of CM Punk's cult of personality hitting, and it didn't happen. Were you people that fucking stupid? Were you people that fucking dumb? CM Punk was not going to be at All Out. That was the dumbest thing that, anybody thought CM Punk was going to be at All Out. You are a fucking moron. I knew it, and I wasn't even there. How hard is it to realize that CM Punk was not going to be at All Out? He was supposed to be at Double or Nothing, but we got Jon Moxley, and I think that was a better surprise, by the way. If CM Punk doesn't get the studio show thing, and if CM Punk is not in DC this coming Wednesday, it's over. He's not going to be at that Thanksgiving episode. It's new, it's now, or never. If CM Punk is to ever be in AEW as a big surprise, it has to be this goddamn Wednesday. He would be the Lex Luger, if you will, of this day and age, as he walks in, and he doesn't even have to cut a promo. I wish they were doing in like the Mall of America or somewhere like that, to where he could just be casually there and just walks into shot while the thing's going on, and it's like, what the hell is he doing here? What is CM Punk doing here? Which would be fucking huge, but if he's not there this Wednesday, cut the shit. He's not coming to AEW. He might be doing the studio show, and we have more on this. The rumblings on CM Punk and WWE continue, and let's see. Punk's representative, of course, want to talk to Fox to try and get him to be on the FS1 show. In an update, multiple sources, WWE sources, have confirmed the PNW insider that Punk was at Fox Studios earlier this week in Los Angeles to discuss a potential on-air role for the backstage show on FS1, which will premiere on Tuesday, November 5th at 11 p.m. There's no word yet on what all went down at the meeting, but Punk did some on-camera testing. Renee Young was also present for the meeting. It has been confirmed that Punk has signed a deal to work on the show. It has not been confirmed. My bad. It has not been confirmed. It has been noted how Fox brought in several WWE and non-WWE personalities to Los Angeles summer to try out for the show. Taz, Sean Waltman were also brought in several times over the past few months to try out. According to PW Insider, it was also reported that Paige, Rey Mysterio were considered. There's also no word yet on which personality will be used along with Rey and Booker T. Fox has experimented with different versions of the show and how it will be presented, ranging from 3 to 5 personalities hosting a panel discussion. A final decision on the format had not been agreed on as of earlier this week. As noted, Fox will be taping the series each week, not WWE. Punk would be working with Fox and not WWE if he signs on to be a part of the show, which, if that is the case, then that probably enticed Punk a little bit more, because he doesn't have to deal with WWE. He doesn't have to deal with Vince McMahon or Triple H. He can deal with the Fox executives, which if he does sign on, it would be a foot in the door for CM Punk. So Paige, I can understand, yeah. Like, if they're going to do a 3 to 5 personality panel, then what you do is that you get, like, Punk wouldn't be there every week. You would have Booker T and Renee Young be your host, and that's 2 of the 5, and the other 3 would be interchangeable. Paige 1 week, Punk 1 week. You can have superstars who are injured, like Mickie James on there 1 week, or Bobby Lashley if you want to, even though I think that would be a snooze fest. And you just can interchange people. It doesn't, other than Renee Young and Booker T, who are the host, everybody else is interchangeable
Like, I know there's not it's PTI, not PTI, it's the other one before them. Shit, what the hell's the name of the show that goes on before PTI? That show on ESPN that goes on before PTI, where it's like a guy he's sitting there and he talks to four people who give their opinions on the day's topics for the show, and he decides who wins so they can have a little show off later. But those four people are not always the same people. They interchange that all the time. So if they want to do something like that, there you go. Another thing of why Fox would be handling this and not WWE is because they want this to be as realistic as possible. The UFC today, or the UFC show they used to have, and if Vince McMahon is involved, it'll be goofy, it'll be scripted too much. Vince McMahon, of course, as we know, doesn't want the fans to get all, they'll pull back the curtain every once in a while. I mean, they had that Breaking Ground show on WWE's network a couple years ago in 2014 or 15, which was pulling back the curtain as much as you could. So, WWE, WWE doesn't get involved with it because Fox probably knows Vince McMahon's not going to let anybody, Vince McMahon would try and control it too much and make it too scripted. That's why Talking Smack got ended, because it was too real. Vince McMahon doesn't like the realism to be out there for everyone to see. So if Punk joins this paneling thing, then it'll be interesting. It'll be a foot in the door. It'll be him dealing with Fox and not WWE personnel themselves. Fox wants CM Punk. WWE just was like, sure, fine, whatever, go what you like. Of course, Fox wasn't going to just go after CM Punk without saying something to WWE. But Fox is paying so much money that they can pretty much get whatever the fuck they want. Keep you updated on this if there is any more news, but let's move on and give a nice medical congratulations to Rusev, who is now a United States citizen. The United States District Court from the Western District of Virginia held a naturalization ceremony earlier this week in Roanoke, Virginia at the local courthouse, and it looks like they was where Rusev officially became a naturalized citizen for the United States. He wrote, "It is a long road, 14 years in the making, so much hardship and obstacles along the way, but in the end, who cares? I am proud to be an American." Rusev was congratulated in the comment section by AEW World Champion Chris Jericho, Ryback, EC3, Jey Uso, among others. Congratulations to Rusev. Well, one of the biggest positives of him becoming a U.S. citizen for himself is that he doesn't have to worry about visas. If a visa gets revoked or something, then he has to go back to his own country. Now he can work freely in the United States with WWE or post-WWE without having to worry about it. So, mazel tov to the guy. Good stuff. Seth Rollins. Boy, this guy apparently deleted or deactivated his Twitter account, which in my opinion is probably a really good idea. The page currently displays the following message for most users, and at WWE Rollins, this account does not exist. Try searching another. Some users are still seeing Rollins' bio, profile photo, and followers count of 3.6 million. With the message saying these tweets aren't loading right now, please tap for to retry. He did get into the change to Rollins' account status came after a much talked about back and forth with Sasha Banks on Thursday. The exchange began after Rollins tweeted to promote his title match against Rey Mysterio on the Raw season premiere, and Banks mocked him. Rollins wrote, "This is a match I've been looking forward to my entire career. The fact that I am defending the Universal title on Raw season premiere against Rey Mysterio in 2019 is mind-boggling. Even 6 days out from Hell in a Cell and Bray Wyatt, I'll empty my tank for one of the greatest ever." Banks then commented on her Raw match against the Raw Women's Champion, Tag Team Champion. "This is a match I've been looking forward to my entire life. The fact that I wrestled half of the Tag Team Champions on the Raw season premiere against Alexa Bliss in 2019 is mind-boggling. Even 6 days out from Hell in a Cell and Becky Lynch, I'm emptying my tank for the one of the greatest ever." Rollins fired back and accused Banks of under-delivering, and yeah. He wrote, "This is a match I've been looking forward to as much as every other match you've ever had, aka not at all. Luckily for me, you'll under-deliver like you always do and continue to wonder why you're not in more main events." There was no word yet, and if the account change had to do with the exchange, or if Rollins just temporarily deactivated his account. Honestly, I hope Becky got to him as like, listen, champ, leave the trash talking to me. Leave the trash talking to me, because if anybody remembers the spat he had with Will Ospreay for no reason other than the fact that Will Ospreay, he said, I'm the best, like Seth Rollins came out and tweeted, I'm the best wrestler in the world, living today, and then Will Ospreay was like, I'm alive, and they went into a little spat, and it got bad because he went out there and said, and started comparing bank accounts with Will Ospreay, and that's not something you do. When you are getting your ass handed to you, and he's engaged to the savage, the Irish savage known as Becky Lynch, and he can't even fucking fight. He can't even troll somebody on Twitter or win a Twitter battle. He lost that one. So if I'm WWE or I'm Becky Lynch, I'm like, Chief, just deactivate your Twitter. You're not helping yourself. Let's just move on. He comes off as a condescending asshole, a prick, and somebody that needs to lose his championship because he's not helping. This guy is supposed to be the face of your company, and he accuses one of the, like, his woman is facing off against Sasha Banks at Hell in a Cell, and you're going out there accusing of her under delivering. That's your face of the company, burying somebody who's going to be in one of the big match in the other Hell in a Cell match at Hell in a Cell. No. I think he should just deactivate his Twitter account or delete it completely. So Seth Rollins, I think you need to stay off Twitter for the longest time. Moving on. The Usos to make the return this Friday. Apparently, the tag team currently, according to Wrestling Inc., has learned the tag team are currently members of the Raw roster. They have not appeared on television since July 29th, where they were defeated by the OCs and the OCs defeated the Brothers, and then tag team champions the Revival for the titles days before the match. Before the match, Jimmy Uso was arrested for DUI in Pensacola, Florida, on July 25th. Friday Night Smackdown debuts this Friday on Fox. Yada yada yada. Well, of course, the reason the Usos have been off TV is because WWE is not happy with the Usos and the fact that they could not participate in SummerSlam this year. SummerSlam, of course, took place in Canada, which I kind of find it funny that you go for the biggest party of the summer in a place that's always cold. That's neither here nor there. Well, Jeff Hardy can attest to this as too. If you even have a misdemeanor or even a parking violation or something on your record, you cannot go to Canada. So the Usos were not allowed in Canada. So that did not make Vince McMahon and WWE happy. So they had them take a pinfall in a triple threat match for the tag team titles, and they haven't used them since. And honestly, they should come back and they should be the first opponents for the AOP, in which the returning AOP who go out there and just absolutely obliterate them. I would say that Jimmy should be in the doghouse for here until who knows. The Usos will not be your tag team champions anytime soon, and these guys just signed new contracts for 5 years. Right before, they signed new contracts for 5 years, and then Jimmy Uso goes out and gets arrested for DUI. This guy hopefully got help. That's also something I hope. Hopefully this entire time they've been gone, he's been out getting help, because honestly, he needs it. We don't need to hear Jimmy Uso just killed somebody in a car, Jacob Fatu, I think is his real name, just killed somebody in a drunk driving accident, or Jacob Fatu passed away from a drunk driving accident. When is enough? I hope the time off from WWE, he got help, and hopefully we won't hear in the next 3 months, the next 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, or however long he's around in this world, that he was arrested for drunk driving or killed somebody, because it's gonna keep happening, until WWE does something about it. And hopefully them taking him off TV got him to wake the fuck up. So it'll be great to see the Usos back. One thing I want to see from WWE is that we don't see the same people all the fucking time. Seth Rollins was not needed on Raw this week. He was gone. The Fiend scared the living Jesus out of him. He's afraid of the Fiend. He could have disappeared from Raw this week, and we didn't see him at all. But no, we had to have him wrestle another match. I don't want to see Seth Rollins wrestling after the Raw premiere and after Hell in a Cell until after we know what he's going to be. If he's going to be on Raw, then he wrestles the next week on Raw. If he's going to be on Friday Night Smackdown, he wrestles the week after. You have so much talent that you're underutilizing because you just can't help using the same superstars over and over and over again, and it's killing these shows. So, one last thing before we get into I think that's one last thing. Hold on. Oh, no, two more things before we get to AEW news. XFL has set a couple dates for their upcoming draft for the 2020 season. As we head closer to 2020 and the return of the XFL, there are still plenty of questions that need to answer. One thing regards talent in the way XFL plans to bring them into the fold. According to News Hub, the XFL draft is expected to take place on October 15th and 16th. A letter was received by players announcing details of the league office in Stamford, Connecticut will be the home of the draft, and each team will be able to draft up to 70 players during that time. Of course, all 70 players will not be seeing on-field time for the XFL season. They will be, of course, dropping it down to, I believe, 52-man rosters. This past August, XFL Commissioner Oliver Luck provided some details of the draft, including sending out the commissioner's invitation. Those players who accept the invitation must sign an HIPAA release form, which will also consenting to a clearing and background check following the draft. Each player must pass a medical examination and drug test. Additionally, there will be a 16-day minicamp after the draft on Tuesday, December 3rd. Players will be paid every 2 weeks during that time as long as they are on the active or injured reserve roster. Following minicamp, a training camp will begin on January 4th, 2020. With Houston, Team 9, according to the XFL, as a potential location, the league-wide training camp will end on January 21st, which will be the XFL start, making the cuts to the upcoming season. A relaunched XFL is expected to be starting on February 2020, the week after the Super Bowl. And if everything will be going right, we will be doing a Monday morning coverage of the XFL, the highlights and everything for hopefully the 4 games each week. So if you're excited about the XFL and it coming back, let me know in the comment section below as we get closer and we have a draft coming in about, 2 weeks? 3 weeks. In 3 weeks. Yeah, in 3 weeks. 2 weeks from Tuesday. 2 weeks from Tuesday and Wednesday. 2 weeks from Tuesday and Wednesday. And before we get to AEW's little bit of news we have to send our condolences to the family of Rick Bogner. If you don't know who Rick Bogner is, he in 1994, 1996, Razor Ramon and Diesel left WWE and went to WCW. A little bit later, I believe it was in 1997, it was later, WWE made the foolish mistake of trying to turn Jim Ross heel, which I didn't see it live, but I saw it on the WWE Network, and they did not, I don't think they edited it, but if you go back and watch that promo, this was in 1996, WWF was still at a very poor state of things where they were just not doing good business. And JR became the early version of CM Punk with the voice of the voiceless. He drops a humongous pipe bomb on WWE, talking about being fired, talking shit on Vince McMahon, and everything that he says is the absolute goddamn truth, and the fans were fucking just all over it. But they turned him heel, and he was supposed to be like this guy who brings back Diesel and Razor Ramon. It was Diesel, of course, fake Diesel was played by Glenn Jacobs, aka Kane. Rick Bogner played fake Razor Ramon. The Cauliflower Alley Club announced today that Rick Bogner, this was, I believe, on Saturday. Wow, they waited 9 days. passed away at 49 on September 20th. Bogner was known in WWE as the Fake Razor and Big Titan in Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling. The CAC would like to pass on our condolences to the family and friends of Rick Bogner, aka Big Titan from FMW, and Fake Razor Ramon in WWF. Per his brothers, Rick passed away suddenly at the age of 49 back on the 20th of September. A great speaker, he will sorely be missed. News on recent goal. No. Yeah. I'll say we have one more after this, but he will be missed. So, I don't, he didn't do much after, I believe the Royal Rumble 1997 was the last time you saw Rick Bogner in WWF, in which he was eliminated, I think, pretty early. But, Diesel, the fake Diesel, Glenn Jacobs, he looked like he fit the part of a Diesel knockoff. He just felt like if they would have had Glenn Jacobs, they could have had him be a better Diesel if they really wanted him to be, but the fans weren't going to buy it. Rick Bogner just did not come off at anything like a Razor Ramon. He just looked like Razor Ramon's fat, overweight cousin. If Razor Ramon had a brother, that would be Rick Bogner's version. He was fat, he was bigger, he looked nothing like him, he acted nothing like him, he was just no. But condolences to Rick Bogner's family. And everyone we're all going to go eventually, and just, it is what it is. Rick Bogner, 49 years old, September 20th, he passed away 9 days ago. Recent Goldberg-Ziggler altercations, I forgot I had this on here. Hall of Famers Bill Goldberg and Dolph Ziggler had an altercation in Las Vegas about a week and a half ago. More than 1 month after Goldberg's win over Ziggler at SummerSlam, Goldberg revealed that the altercation via Instagram video, which was it looked staged. It looked like these guys were doing it to try and get some buzz for whatever reason. PW Insider reported that the people within WWE believed that the Vegas altercation would lead to another SmackDown Fox appearance for Goldberg. Because Goldberg is booked for Friday night's Fox premiere in Los Angeles for the 20th anniversary festivities, but it looks like what happened in Vegas will stay there. The Ziggler-Goldberg angle that took place on Friday, September 20th, so 9 days ago. Ziggler and Goldberg shot the angle while they were both at a birthday dinner party for porn star and director Kendra Lust at the Andimino Italian Steakhouse in downtown Vegas. According to the Wrestling Observer, Ziggler was at the table with Lust and others when Goldberg arrived. The two then exchanged words and got physically pulled apart. There are no plans at this time with the altercation in Vegas on WWE TV, and no plans to resume the Goldberg vs. Ziggler feud. It's interesting that they even shot the angle because there was really no point in doing another Goldberg vs. Ziggler match after SummerSlam, but this could be just a case of Ziggler and Goldberg shooting their own angle for publicity. It's still possible that we see a Goldberg used more on TV after Friday, which we fucking don't need to. While Fox officials might want the former world champion on their Blue Brand programming, it was noted that Raw Executive Director Heyman has wanted Goldberg to be used as an occasional character from some time. Then make him the on-air general manager. That's all you gotta do. The idea was to see Goldberg come in and destroy people every now and then as the older legend similar to the role of Hall of Famer Bruno Sammartino played during the late 70s or early 90s. The WWE title reign of another Hall of Famer, Bob Backlund, the long-term idea would be to see Goldberg work the role for several more years, and then Brock Lesnar would take the role over. There's no word yet on if Heyman's idea is being considered or what Goldberg's future will be past the SmackDown Fox premiere on Friday. Here's an idea. If you want to use him, make him the Raw General Manager on Monday. On the Monday that they do the draft, he is the Raw General Manager. SmackDown gets somebody else. I don't give a shit who. They could put Stephanie on SmackDown. I don't care. Goldberg could be the Raw GM, or if he could be Raw GM or SmackDown GM. I don't care. But unless you're going to do a GM role for Goldberg, which he would be fine in, he could be like the sheriff version of Stone Cold Steve Austin. If somebody gets out of line, he hits him with the spear, and you go with that. And that's all you would need to do. Of course, GMs on Raw and SmackDown suck compared to NXT because the Raw and SmackDown GM gets used way too much. Moving over here, when I talked about CM Punk and Cody and everything, here's what Cody had to say. Cody and Brandy Rhodes joined Colin to live talk about the chances of CM Punk showing up in AEW. The offer made to Punk and his thoughts on ESPN's interview from July with CM Punk.
Rhodes thinks Punk's chances of coming to All Elite Wrestling is still 50-50, and the biggest reason AEW has talked about it is because they're often asked about him. 50-50, I really liked Phil, and he was really nice to me when I was in OVW as a leader, kind of a leader, Rhodes would call. He was a locker room leader, and he had such a successful run in WWE, and I have never really had an adversarial relationship with him. I know he doesn't like when we discuss him, but I think if I even explained it to him once, a lot of people ask about him. I don't want to say no comment. I just don't think he knows, perhaps he doesn't want to be involved in wrestling anymore. If that's the case, no big deal. You just gave your body. You gave us this body to work, and CM Punk was an awesome wrestler. He talked about the interview, and he said, and I quote, he did kind of make us look like dumbasses, saying we sent him a text offer. I'm sure we texted him, but we also called him. Someone also met him in a coffee shop. We made genuine efforts. But in this case, in 2018, it's been quite some time away from the ring. We got to focus on who really wants to be on board with us versus going out and finding someone who perhaps doesn't really want to be a part of this. And that's what the focus should be. People who want to fucking be there. Not, oh, let's get CM Punk. People who want to be there. I don't care what anyone else says. The focus for AEW needs to be the guys and girls who want to be there. One thing that AEW really needs to work on, because the men and tag team divisions are fine. They need to work on that women's division, because honestly, you have B Priestley, Britt Baker, Allie, and others, and it's just like it's the real weak point right now to me is the women's division. Hopefully that we built up over time. That women's championship match on Wednesdays, I am not even looking forward to, because that's just right there. I even said it on Twitter. That match coming up between Riho and Nyla Rose, I cannot suspend my disbelief enough to make me buy that Riho can have a chance against Nyla Rose. That's what they're trying to build to, but in my opinion, it just doesn't work for me. Rhodes was asked about his reaction to it. The texting comment, ultimately he said the door is open to Punk if he's interested in joining AEW. I didn't really communicate with him further after that. I expected to see him at Starrcast. He gave us this great live show, and he did with Mike Johnson, where he was really great with his answers. I'm sure we'll run into each other at some point if he ever wanted to be part of this and he had the passion to come back to wrestling. The door is always open. No ego in the situation would ever prevent us from having him come in, because the fans have never given up on Punk, even ever. It's crazy. I really wish. It's been 5 years. It's going to be 6 years in January. Let it go. If he doesn't show up in AEW, if he doesn't take this broadcasting spot, or he doesn't get brought in by Fox, let it go. Let the man live his life and shut the fuck up. He doesn't want to come back to wrestling. Honestly, CM Punk could die, and people would still be like, "Oh no, he's not dead. It's all a work. He's gonna be back." That's how it feels. Is what it is with CM Punk. He could die, and people would still expect him to be back, showing up. It's like, just stop. Just stop. AEW star Nyla Rose is in some trouble, though. Oh boy, this one I didn't see it when it happened, but God, this was not good. She apologized for a tweet made earlier this week, which she since deleted. For those who missed it, the transgender wrestler report responded to a fan who posted a gif about her being a man and wrote, "Aw, you want attention, hon? What's wrong, baby? Mama not hug you enough?" Now. If that's where the tweet ended, I don't think there'd be a problem. However, this last part, just no. Why would you even put this on here? The whole tweet is, "Aw, you want attention, hon? What's wrong, baby? Mama not hug you enough? Did daddy mouth touch you in the no-no place?" What the fuck are you thinking? You are being put on. You're being put into this championship match on the first episode of your TV show that you are a part of. They want to push you as a big-time beast, and that's what you put on. You tweet somebody that is unacceptable. First and foremost. She will be facing Riho to crown the first ever AEW's Women's Champion on October 2nd. Fine her, because honestly, I'm sorry. She should. You gotta. The apology was warranted, but AEW's got to take some action on this, because that is unacceptable. Like I said, if she just said, "Mommy not hug you enough," and that was it, I don't think this would be a big deal because that's not that big of a deal. The daddy mouth touch you in the no-no place is just unacceptable. You have the potential to be the first ever AEW Women's Champion, and you decide to tweet that. She said in a tweet, "I would like to apologize for my comments yesterday. I have always tried to take the high road and rise above. Ignore the hateful, hurtful insults I receive daily. Unfortunately, I let some hateful comments get in the way of my better judgment. I believe that sometimes people forget that real people are on the other end of the screen. I replied in frustration and anger. Did not consider the people that I could affect and hurt. For that, I am truly sorry. My consistent goal is to be better than I was the day before. Today is no exception." Now, Nyla, here's something. You see that little arrow that pushes that you can click to top down and has these little options. You click on that, and this thing will come down, and it says block. If people are being hateful for you, just like that, you block them like that, and you know what? The hate goes away. You don't have to hear these hateful people anymore. Yes, AEW is taking a gamble by having the first ever legit transgender woman be in this first ever title match for the Women's Championship. If she wins it, and that's a big if now because of that right there, that tweet, even though it was deleted, in my opinion, could swing this to be where Riho ends up winning the championship because, quite honestly, that is unacceptable. I don't care how many times you apologize, that is something that should have never came out of your fucking mind. That is you type it out and then you delete it. I've done that multiple times where I type something out, whether I'm fighting with some like an ex, if I'm fighting with them when I was dating them, you write something out and then you stop before you hit that enter button and you delete the whole damn thing. If it would have stopped that, mommy not give you hugs enough, I think nobody would have made a big snuff about this because that's not that big of a deal. Did daddy mouth touch you in a no-no place? That is unacceptable. Why would you even think that? That was just terrible. Fight TV announces AEW Plus feature. This has got a lot of people up in arms. Fight TV was announced in the new AEW Plus global subscription feature. The new service will offer live and replay access to weekly AEW Dynamite AEW on TNT series, plus an a la carte option. It will be available to fans in several countries outside the United States and Canada, including the UK, Australia, Japan, Ireland, Italy, Spain, the Middle East, Chile, and Brazil. AEW President Tony Khan commented on the significant offerings for Fight. Fight answered our call and the call of AEW fans outside of North America to offer the best global platform and partner for our wildly successful Double or Nothing event earlier this year, but that was just the start. The power of AEW will now be readily available live and internationally with AEW Plus, and that's thanks to Fight, which combines the best technology with the passion of delivering our shows to the audience throughout the world. So, there you go. The next pay-per-view Full Gear will take place on November 9th in Baltimore, but the quarterly pay-per-view events shall remain separate from AEW Plus series subscription. So basically, what you're paying for now is to watch AEW's new TV show on TNT on Fight TV. Now, a reason why they're saying that they can't put it live on anywhere else is because the laws for TV is different in the United States compared to Europe. In the UK, I believe it's like they only allow 12 minutes of commercials for any TV, for any live sport or something like that. Whereas in the United States, I don't think they have a limit. I know WWE gets like 16 minutes an hour. So, and I think AEW is going to have the same thing. So they can't so basically you would have like commercial going on for AEW in the United States. I don't know why the WWE gets away with it, because I have watched broadcasts from the UK and it runs, of course, unlike WWE, unlike the UK, like the United States, when they go to commercial and they come back, it's like instantaneously. In the UK, when their commercial break is done, you get a splash screen of the Raw with SmackDown logo with the theme music playing. Trust me, I've watched both Raw and SmackDown that way. So I don't know how they're going to do this, but AEW outside the United States is going to be done differently than in the United States. So
let's see how that goes for them. But if you're in the UK or outside the United States, and this is the only way you're going to be able to see AEW on TNT, which it's not, because there is this thing called wrestling streaming sites, which I know are not the best way to do it because of viruses and shit. But if you don't want to pay the AEW Plus and you want to watch it any other way, that's probably the best way to do it. But I live in the United States, so I don't have to worry about that problem. TNT is the way to go. It's going to be interesting to see. A lot of people is like speculating that, like, what's the entrance opening theme going to be? A lot of people are like, why don't you bring back the old Nitro theme? Only instead of it being the WCW Nitro at the end, it should be the AEW like logo. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. They've been showing posters of like all the AEW wrestlers and like paint and everything, like colors all splashing off and anything. So it's going to be interesting. This coming week, it's a big week. Raw on Monday, AEW on Tuesday and on Wednesday, NXT on Thursday, Smackdown on Friday. What a goddamn week we're going to have. My name is DeFrance. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Find me on Twitter and twitch.tv/DeFranceClub. And I will see you guys tomorrow for the season premiere of Monday Night Raw. Wednesday for AEW, Thursday for NXT, and Friday for SmackDown Live. Friday Night SmackDown. God, it's going to be one of those weeks. Until then, my name is DeFrance, and I'll see you guys.